It's a crazy world out there, but we're gonna build a truck. First, let's buy it.
This episode of Mountain State Overland is presented by OK 4-Wheel Drive, serving 4-wheel drive enthusiasts since 1979. Midland, USA, pioneering two-way radio technology for over 50 years. And Bill Stein, revolutionizing dampening technology for over 60 years. We are on our way to Roanoke, Virginia to test drive a couple trucks today. Are you excited, buddy?
Yeah!
Whoa, I guess he is excited. We're going to take you on a little adventure and put you in the seat of a Gladiator, a Tacoma, and a ZR2. As you know right now, or know by now, our MSO Tacoma 2.0, which was a 2017 Toyota Tacoma TRD off-road, was totaled in a rear-ended accident. Finally got to pay out here, and we're going to put ourselves in a new truck and build it at OK 4-Wheel Drive. Each of these three trucks are perfectly capable off-road vehicles. Hopefully we get to see Gabby too, right buddy?
Yeah!
You want to see Gabby? So let's go find a truck.
Daddy.
Yeah. Okay, Catcher and I are at Haley Toyota here in Roanoke, Virginia. Of course, we're gonna stop by a Toyota dealership. We've owned 3 Tacomas in the last like 15 years, over the last 15 years. So we're gonna see what's actually changed on the 2020 Tacoma before we go out and find a couple trucks to test drive.
I want to buy this truck for Mommy.
Do you wanna buy that truck for Mommy?
Yeah.
So Gibby was pretty integral in actually getting our Toyota 4Runner build underway when we built it with Gabby a few years ago with ARB. And since we're over here looking at new trucks and we've owned Tacomas in the past, we figured we'd stop by, see if Gibby had a 2020 Tacoma that we could look at. And he could just tell us a little bit about what's different between the 2017 and the 2020, because I really don't need to test drive one of these because I've owned like 3 of them in the past.
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
So a lot of the differences, your controls are now here on the steering wheel, so you can cut on and off your lane departure alert. You've got your radar cruise control. You can set the different speeds and distances between you and the car in front of you while you're on cruise. So it just keeps you from getting too close to that car in front of you. You've also got automatic high beams. One of the biggest things to me is the bigger screen. You've got an 8-inch screen versus a 7-inch screen, a much better and more functional display. You got JBL speakers, you got a subwoofer now, along with dual climate control and heated seats. So a lot of new creature comforts and a lot of new safety. And nothing's changed with the powertrain since 2017. They've done some minor transmission tweaks, but it's just all tuning. It hasn't changed the gear ratios, hasn't changed the horsepower or the torque of the vehicle. This bird's eye camera, so I'm gonna cut it on and show it to you real quick. So when you hit that, you get the first display, which shows you what's in front of you. And then this, of course, with the doors open, it's a little skewed, but normally it's going to show what's all around the vehicle. If you hit it again, it gives you what's down the side of the vehicle. Again, with the doors open, you're just looking at the front wheel well, but with the doors shut, you can see all the way down the side of the vehicle.
Well, Gibby, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna hit the road and actually go look at a couple other trucks here, but I appreciate you taking time out of your day here to do this for us. Okay, we are just leaving Haley Toyota here now. And it's actually pretty convenient because the Chevy dealership is just right across the street here. So we're gonna go see if they've got a ZR2 on the lot that we can test drive. Again, we don't need to test drive the Tacoma because we've owned like 3 of them already. But we thought it was kind of valuable to really understand what some of the new features are. And it sounds like they've got safety in mind on the new Tacomas, which is fantastic, especially when you got one of these in the back seat. So let's go find a ZR2. Okay, that was interesting to say the least. I didn't see a ZR2. They had a couple of Colorados here. Had a Z71 Colorado. And yes, I know what a ZR2 looks like. And like I said, we want to drive one, but the sales rep continued to tell me that nothing is going to compete with the Toyota Tacoma. Kind of concerning for Chevrolet if they're Their sales reps are trying to push a Toyota Tacoma. Fortunately though, they have a ZR2 at another one of their lots in Rocky Mount. I believe that is also a Berglund lot, but interesting customer service experience here. I don't know what's going on there or not, but we're gonna drive a ZR2 today. What's even more odd about today in our adventures of finding a new vehicle is that it's like 66 degrees and it's December 22nd in Roanoke, Virginia, which is crazy. But they got a lineup of Gladiators here. The only Rubicon that they did have just left. Somebody else is test driving it. So we're actually gonna try to drive one of the Overland model Gladiators to see what that experience is like. Well, we drove a Gladiator. The sticker price is a lot to bite off. I mean, we didn't get to drive a Rubicon, we drove the Overland model. The ride quality was pretty nice, but the Overland model doesn't have lockers. It's got kind of a softer suspension, which is nice, so it's a nice ride, which is okay because we'll probably add some aftermarket stuff onto it, but for the price you're paying for a Gladiator, it should have a lot of that on there already, which the Rubicon does have, but to get in a Rubicon, you're at, you know, lower 50s, upper 50s, even 60,000 if you get everything you want. So the sticker price is a little bit of a turnoff. It's not completely off the table yet. We'll have to consider everything once we drive the ZR2, which we're gonna do now. We're en route for Rocky Mount. Hopefully they let us test drive it, get some seat time, take a look at the interior, and see where we're at.
I like the seats, they were comfy.
The seats were comfy, huh? I was hoping this decision would be a lot easier, but it's not. The ZR2 is a nice truck and it's up there, right? The price is pretty good. This is a 2019 model that I test drove, not a big deal. It's only got 200 miles on it. I don't know what to do. Catcher's been awesome today. He's tired. We're gonna go meet Gabby for dinner and talk to Gabby a little bit about the truck and see if we can't come down to making a decision on this thing. So I know I said I was going to tell you nothing about the details of each of the trucks that we drove, but I think it's pretty important to hit some of the highlights that are influencing our decision. So at the Tacoma, you're looking at 278 horsepower and 265 foot-pounds of torque. Now with 1,155 pounds of payload capacity, it definitely gives us some good options for canopies, rooftop tents, campers, and things like that. But I think if we build a new truck this year, we're gonna go a little bit lighter to keep the gross vehicle weight down. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 5 out of a 1 to 5 scale on parts availability because there's tons of parts available for Tacomas, from first gens to second gens to third gens. People just keep innovating tons of options for them. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration rates it a number 4 for safety, which is definitely a plus because I've got a family. Reliability scores high at 3.5 stars from JD Power, and the price is pretty good at around $40,000 to $45,000 for the model we'd be interested in, the model we looked at. As far as comfort goes, I'm scoring the Toyota Tacoma and the options we were looking at 4 stars. For off-road capability, we're rating the Tacoma at 3.5 stars in its stock condition at a TRD off-road package. Final thoughts on the Toyota Tacoma? Safety, price, parts, and reliability. On the Jeep Gladiator Rubicon, you're looking at 285 horsepower at 265 foot-pounds of torque. The payload capacity on a Jeep Gladiator is 1,199 pounds. The sticker price on the Jeep Gladiator that we were looking at was anywhere from $55,000 to $60,000. On a scale of 1 to 5 for parts availability, I'm scoring it at a 4. The Highway Safety Administration has not yet scored the Jeep Gladiator for safety. As far as comfort goes on the Jeep Gladiator, I'm going to score it at 3.5 stars because I just don't think it's quite there compared to the Tacoma. For reliability, we looked at JD Power and they scored the Jeep Gladiator at 2.5 stars of 5. For off-road capability, we're gonna rate the Jeep Gladiator Rubicon Edition at 5 stars because hands down, it is the most capable stock off-road truck available to us in the US. Okay, final thoughts on the Jeep Gladiator is it is expensive. It's extremely capable off-road. I'm not too sure on reliability and the safety is not even rated yet. With the Chevy Colorado and the gas engine, you're looking at 308 horsepower at 265 foot-pounds of torque. On the diesel engine, you're looking at 186 horsepower at 369 foot-pounds of torque.
The payload capacity on a Chevy Colorado ZR2 is 1,487 pounds. The sticker price of the Chevy Colorado ZR2 that we were looking at was $45,000 to $50,000. On a scale of 1 to 5 for parts availability, I'm going to score the Chevy Colorado ZR2 at 2.5 stars just because it's kind of new and there's not a lot of options out there yet. The Highway Safety Administration scores the Chevy Colorado ZR2 at 4 stars. As far as comfort goes, I'm going to score at 4.5 stars because it's plush and it's pimp. There's tons of room and I can see myself driving that thing for miles. We looked at JD Power and they scored the Chevy Colorado at just 2 stars for reliability. For off-road capability, we're going to rate the Chevy Colorado ZR2 at 4 stars because it comes with a front locker as well. Final thoughts on the Chevy Colorado? Reliability is a concern. However, it's extremely comfortable. It's got loads of power, and the added options for a front locker is extremely attractive.
Yep, so the ZR2, the Gladiator, and the Tacoma.
Didn't even test drive a Tacoma because we got time behind the seat already. There's been some changes to the Tacoma platform.
Minor changes,
yeah. And it's still a contender.
Absolutely,
still a contender
absolutely.
for us.
We either stick with what we know or we, try something new.
So the Gladiator, today I drove the Overland model. And honestly, I feel like we aren't even there price-wise. I've got a fixed budget to spend on a truck, and to get the stuff that I want on a Gladiator, I'm gonna spend way more than that. I think it might be a little bit overpriced. Honestly, as far as I'm concerned, the Gladiator's off the chopping block because I can't afford it. So then I found a ZR2 to drive. Ren let me drive his Bison, so I had some experience on a diesel. I drove the gas one. It's got a lot of get up and go. It's very comfortable. All of the luxury items are there, which is awesome. I mean, the ride quality of the ZR2 is pretty spot on. We're between $40,000 and $45,000 for a ZR2 or a Tacoma.
So either stick with
new.
what we know or kind of go in the uncharted territory.
It was
What do
really
you think?
hard too, man. I drove the ZR2 and I was thinking, like, if Chevy can deliver on the dependability and reliability and stuff like that, Toyota's got a real challenge on their hands with that truck. When it's my truck at the end of the day and not a truck I'm building for a YouTube show, we're getting a Tacoma.
Yeah, I mean, we've built Tacomas. I mean, we've put parts on them. We've had seat time in them. Like, they've proven, they're proven on the trail, at least with us. I mean, we haven't had major issues with them. So,
yeah,
why change it and why fix it if it ain't broke? Yeah, and
let's see what happens.
Let's build a truck.
Let's build a truck.
Maybe 2.
Well, Merry Christmas, buddy. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
And thanks, guys, for tuning in. And we'll see more of you here this winter when we build it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right.
Okay, the truck's here in the garage. Catcher has been riding a scooter around in the driveway. During this pandemic, everybody's been stuck at home, which has been great because we've been able to spend some time with family. We've been waiting a couple months to build this truck, and we're not going to wait any longer. Parts are scattered between OK 4-wheel drive and here in Lewisburg in our garage. But what we can start on now is electrical because I've got all electrical components here. We've got parts from Expedition Essentials. We've got parts from Off-Grid Engineering. I've got a power tray and I've got a SLE compressor bracket and stuff like that I can actually go ahead and start installing in this truck before we do things like suspension, bumper, winch, and a camper later. We're going to be putting a camper on the back of this truck too. So let's get started. This is an Expedition Essentials T-PAM. Now T-PAM stands for Tacoma Power Accessory Mount, and we're going to install this on the dash of the Tacoma before we get too crazy installing the dual battery system and things like that because I'm still waiting for some parts to arrive. I've been testing things with, an iPad or a Garmin Overlander here, and I just don't like how close everything is to me. And there's definitely some wasted space up here that won't be obstructing my view of the road or any obstacles because I'm just staring at the hood right now. So effectively what the T-PAM does, this is going to go up over top of here, and that's where we're going to install it. I'm actually quite pleased with everything that they've provided here even down to the connectors that we can tap into the existing power outlet in the truck. But one important piece that I've learned through wrecking our last Tacoma is that I need to keep all my invoices. So if it happens again, insurance has record of everything. Okay, I'm not going to walk you through every single step of this process, but the most important thing that you need to do is lay this top piece up on top of the dash before you pull it off. Make sure you've appropriately marked everything before you start drilling, because there's only one shot of this. So I used a fine tip Sharpie, and we're going to kind of speed through this thing now and show you some of the more important steps. As you can see from the inside, I've taken the dash completely apart. I've actually tapped into the cigarette lighter to supply power for the 2 USB ports that's going to sit on the T-PAM. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount the brackets. Okay, beer number 2, and the accessory mount is installed on the dash. The next step is to install this back panel. It kind of dresses things up and cleans things up. So if you're looking at the truck through the windshield at the front, you're not going to see the brackets and wires and things like that. 6 more bolts and we're done. Okay, the Tacoma power accessory mount from Expedition Essentials is now in the 2020 Tacoma. I got the backing plate on. Had to take a Dremel and clean up some of these edges so it would fit nice and flush, but super happy with the install. Took about 2.5 hours. On to the next project. Welcome back, it's a new night. I got a new beer, and we're gonna be installing a Midland MXT 400 GMRS radio in the cab of this 2020 Tacoma. So let's get started. We've got our mic here, so it's kind of interesting. This is actually a Cat 6 or an RJ45 connection. And I think what we're gonna do this year on this install is install a remote connection for this mic and run Ethernet or Cat 6 cable through the truck to that point so I can actually plug this thing in. So I'm pretty excited about that. That hasn't come in yet. Again, shipping stuff right now has just been kind of crazy. This again is the MXT 400 radio. We had really good success with it on our guided trips in some of the remote locations that we've been. And it's just a solid radio. It's very reliable, no static. We're gonna actually be installing an external speaker. Hopefully, we'll see how it fits, but I think it's going to fit in the center console of the truck. Here's the mount. Now, since we've installed this on a Tacoma already, on a 3rd gen Tacoma, we know it fits right underneath the seat. The problem that we had with it in our last Tacoma was it was just too noisy when the windows were down and you couldn't hear anything at all. Again, that's where I think the external speaker is going to come in really handy for us. Last night when we lifted this seat out, we discovered that with the heated and the power options on this truck, there's no room for anything under there because there's wires. What I've done here is kind of mocked this up, the radio inside the center console, because we're giving up under the seat. I think it's going to give us a little bit more audio range too. And I've mocked this thing up so it'd be sitting there as if it was sitting with its mount. Just going to take some measurements. I've already test closed and everything's fine. And what I'm going to do is drill out the bottom of this so that I can give myself even more clearance and push the antenna through the bottom. I went ahead and put on the Midland Ghost antenna here. It's sitting on a Victory 4x4, kind of like a ditch light mount bracket. I think they actually call this an antenna mount. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it or not, but I have installed a hole down here in the bottom of the center console. I've got the rack for the MXT 400 installed here. Now what I'm going to do is try to pull antenna through the firewall and power through the firewall and let this project just sit here a little bit. And super happy with how this turned out. Again, what we did is we mounted an MXT 400 in the center console of a 2020 Toyota Tacoma. I'm using a Cat 6 cable. It'll plug in for the mic, and I'm going to relocate that plug-in for the mic somewhere else on the truck that's a little easier to get to, so I don't have to be, pulling the mic in and out of this space here. So super happy with it. I don't have power to it yet. Very happy with the install. We'll probably have power in the truck next weekend, so we'll be able to see how this thing shapes up. We're going to go ahead and put this power tray on here, mock it up, and probably put the circuit breaker on there too. So yeah, this is a power tray, and it's built specifically for the Toyota Tacoma, just right in front of the driver's firewall. But it's already been pre-cut for an S-Pod Bantam that we'll be using to control our accessories from inside the cab of the truck. So there you have it. That's the power tray, not a hard install. I think I had about 15 to 20 minutes wrapped into it. Circuit breaker's in place. Next step is dual battery. Tonight and today, we're going to be focusing on installing the Off-Grid Engineering dual battery kit. The only thing we are missing right now is an S-Pod Bantam, but that's going to be pretty easy to integrate a little bit later. Here are the cables measured to length with the ends already soldered. There's a couple open ends that we'll be coupling to existing battery cabling that's under the hood. New terminals for the batteries. We've got Odyssey batteries over here beside the truck that we'll be pulling out and putting those in once we got the kit installed. These are the nutserts we'll be drilling for, some more hardware, the couplers. This is the wiring for the cutoff switch. I don't know where I'm going to put that yet, but we will work through that as we go. The battery stays, the battery tie downs, the battery plate, which we'll be mounting under the hood of the truck, and the super pimp polished aluminum billet battery hold down plate that we're going to be mounting this Blue Sea automatic charging relay to. We're going to be focusing right now on removing the original equipment, which is the battery, the tie down, and the battery tray. Okay, you can't see it really well, although maybe I'll show you some B-roll of a zoomed in picture of this. But this coolant line was kind of obstructing where the battery tray was going to lay. What you can do with this coolant line is put ever so slightly pressure up against it and reshape it and create yourself a whole new world of opportunity and space down here for two batteries. Okay, we've got the first rib nut set, and I am going to drill 3 more holes down here. Okay, next step, batteries. We've got 2 Odyssey Extreme Group 35 batteries that we're going to be putting in the Tacoma. One's going to be a starting battery dedicated completely to starting the truck, and the other is going to be a house battery. We're going to manage the power charging with a charging relay that's going to mount right over top of these 2 batteries and set something like that in the truck. You know, Off-Grid's done a really good job of cutting everything to the right length, so I don't think we've got too much longer to go and we'll be done. So you got a lot of good clearance from the OE parts that are under the hood of the Tacoma in its stock condition. I've moved the batteries and shifted them around to get them kind of in their optimal position. And I'm going to put the top plate on and anchor that down and lock these things in place. This is coming together real nice. I've got 1 battery out so I could do some soldering with these cable extensions. I'm going to put the battery back in, put the top plate on, and anchor everything down, and then I'm going to route the cables, and then we're just about done. Okay, that's a wrap. The Off-Grid Engineering dual battery system is installed in this 2020 Tacoma, and we've got a little bit of a rat's nest here right now, but I'm saving all of this bundled up because we've got a S-Pod Bantam that we're going to be installing here. It just hasn't delivered to the house yet. Everything's really slow right now. So all said, very straightforward installation, really happy with it, really well thought out, and the next time you see us, we're going to be at OK 4-Wheel Drive.
A natural born son of a gun, too hard to handle. I outwork my pay every single day. And come hell or high water, I'ma find a way. You know it don't take much to get me by. I was born with the speed I need, and I'll be fine with some Tennessee shine. It's a Colorado evergreen.
Hey Gabby, I'll tell you what, man, we're listening to some Garth Brooks right now. We got fucking fire. All we need is some firearms. I'll tell you what, man, it's like Texas up here, but we're in Jersey, wherever the hell this is. Tell you what, man, I hope you're doing good down in Texas. Next time you come on up here, hang out with us.
Two-step